Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Halftime Show. A pitiful first half for the Philadelphia Eagles. Johnny Mac, that was pretty ugly, my man. What did you see in the first half of this game?
It wasn't very good. You saw some signs of life, at least a little bit. But I mean, they didn't have a yard of offense until about 7 minutes were left in the second quarter. And then they went on that little bit of drive, and you say, oh, maybe there's a little bit of life. Obviously, they came in, they don't look prepared. It's been a very bad situation, to say the least. And, hopefully you go into halftime and you can make it at least put a little bit of pressure on Tampa Bay. But this team's not equipped to come back from a huge deficit without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think that's obvious. It should be obvious. And, I got a lot of fire. Nick Sirianni, fire. Vic Fangio, fire. Everybody, fire the whole team. You don't have A.J. Brown. You don't have Devontae Smith.
Yeah, but John, this team is unprepared to play a football game today.
That's fine. But I mean, it's ridiculous that people don't understand the difference in talent level. And this, I made a quip at the end. Oh, just run some motion and all of a sudden the offense will be fine. That's stupid shit. So now you see it's execution. When you don't have your best players on the field, should it have been better than that? Of course it should have been better than that. I mean, that was one of the worst tackling performances I've ever seen. And tackling's just about, technique and fundamentals and want to. And the Eagles just showed up and didn't tackle. One thing I mentioned throughout the week, Xander, I said I hated this spot for the Eagles. And I didn't mention on the pregame show, and I'm sorry I mentioned it so much during the week. Tampa Bay coming off that awful performance against Denver. I knew they were going to be on their P's and Q's to start, and the Eagles coming off that great performance against New Orleans just went back to what they are on defense, and it didn't look very good. So, they probably started too late when they finally showed up with some life, as I said, with about 7 minutes left in the second quarter. I think it was that little – I mean, they were at 0 offensive yards, and they ended with 69. It's 287 to 69. If anything, it could be worse. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they dropped a touchdown in the end zone.
Yeah, the drop. Yeah, that was the best defensive play at that stage of the game. The drop that should have been another touchdown by Tampa Bay. Look, there's nothing good. There's nothing good to talk about. It's worse than even expected. They have no ability. I mean, Paris Campbell, what did I say? 2 for, 14. He's at 3 for 10, and he's your best receiver.
And he's got the touchdown in there, Johnny, man.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Paris Campbell touchdown.
Yeah, he's your best receiver out there. They tried to throw it to Johnny Wilson a couple times. They tried to throw it to Dotson, I think, once. Nothing. No separation. Swarming all over. Todd Bowles has had obviously Jalen Hurts' number in the past. That seems to be continuing. But there's not a lot of help. There's not a lot of help up there. Saquon Barkley, 8 touches, 8 carries for 22 yards. He got loose behind the defense early in the game. It was just, when Jalen Hurts was blushing right, and it was just a bad throw. I don't know if it would have had an opportunity to be caught anyway. Not a lot to hang your hat on other than the bad tackling.
John, the general unpreparedness, though, of this team is astounding. To get off the bus, you have a chance to go 3-1 into the bye week and put yourself in a good position to make a run with everybody healthy. They didn't even get off the bus, John. They look like they're not even out there. I get the talent level's not that good, but it's a joke. That first half was embarrassing if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna say it wasn't. I mean, there's not much good, but again, we'll get this. Blame this coach, blame that coach, blame every coach.
It'll be a long 2 weeks for Nick Sirianni, John.
Before you get to the players, and there's not a lot of depth on this team at wide receiver. And when you lose 2 players that they lost, and you're throwing out there what you're replacing them with, it's going to be difficult, but the quarterback could have handled it better. Everybody could have handled it better, but They didn't. And the defense might be worst of all because you go in this game knowing you got to win sort of a grinded out type of game because of the limitations you have on the offensive side of the football. And they're giving up almost 300 yards in the half to Tampa Bay, which is not an explosive team.
The highs and lows right now in this team are unbelievable. I mean, they went from a shitty defense to last week a tremendous defense, and they're back to a shitty defense. I mean, you just can't. That's not any way to have consistency or win long term in the NFL.
No, and they had a good game plan for New Orleans, and I kind of mentioned it's not going to carry over because this team doesn't play the same way.
Yeah,
you're not trying to accomplish. Last week they were trying to shut down Alvin Kamara. They broke out the 6-man front. They did a lot of different things. This week it was about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and they weren't able to do it. About the only thing that stopped Mike Evans and Chris Godwin sort of late in the half is the inaccuracy of Baker Mayfield. All of a sudden he got a little bit inaccurate, but they were open. And Reed Blankenship left the game with an illness. We'll see if he can return. But I mean, there's not much to say positively about anybody. But I'm disappointed. Look, we got if you have Dallas Goedert who caught 4 passes for 39 yards and dropped 1 and 5 targets. Yeah, Campbell 3 receptions and 3 targets per granted nothing, 10 yards, but he did have the touchdown. Everybody else, Saquon Barkley 2 targets, Grant Calcaterra 1 target, Dotson 1 target, Wilson 2 targets, Gainwell 1 target. Now a couple of those Gainwell, that was at the end of the half there, complete overthrow by Jalen Hurts. Barkley early was open.
Jalen does not look good. I know he doesn't have good talent around him.
He did not look good. He did not look good. I mean, there's not much to say in a positive way. The only positive is they showed a little bit of life with tempo. And that's another thing. It's 108 on the field. So you're not going to be able to play tempo the entire game. You got to execute. You got to execute play calls. It's not about scheming. It's not about you got to block the guy. You got to catch the guy. You got to tackle. All the stuff,
fundamentals. It's what you're taught the moment you pick up a football when you're a child. The fundamentals of the football game. That's coaching, John. I mean, that's fine.
They did
not show up ready to play ball.
If you want to blame the coaching staff for that, I'm more on board with you. The lack of technique, the lack of fundamentals, because that's about teaching during the week. That's what you should have to do. That's what you need to do. But that's not usually what people are convinced. It's always play calls. It's always 4th downs. It's always this. It's always that. It's always making excuses for the players. Players freaking stuck today, and the tackling especially. They go through those tackle circuits every day at the start of practice to do as best as possible, and they show up and they don't tackle anybody. Can you blame it on the coach? Sure, but have at it. But I do know how much they work on it. Start blaming the people actually playing the game is where I would start.
Well, look, you can blame them too, but don't you have a general problem with the way that team started out that game? Don't you think the coaches have some sort of effect on the effort that
you want to focus on the coach. Yeah, you can't get off the players. I'm fine with ripping everybody. Nick Sirianni says, everything out there, the product on the field has his name on it. So feel free to rip Nick Sirianni all you want. But I guarantee you, the way these players are performing, it doesn't matter if Bill Belichick came down, if Tom Brady, you're not winning. You're not winning the game. So start where, players first, good, bad, and different. Today it's bad. Players first, then get to the coaches. So do the coaches have a part in this? Yeah. And Nick will take his part after the game as the lightning rod and say, it's on me first. It's on me. It's on me. It's on me first. And Jalen Hurts will go up there and lack accountability, and everybody else will. Certain guys, when Saquon dropped it, he took accountability. Certain guys certainly take accountability. Boy, this group showed up and said, "Oh, we don't have AJ, we don't have Devontae, we don't have Lane, we don't have a chance." And they're probably right, but you'd like to see a little bit more fight, and hopefully you see a little bit more fight. There's a little glimmer. Because they were down 24-0, 24-7. They get the ball, a little bit of glimmer to try to
point there at the end of the half, right? They could have closed the gap a little bit, but
a little bit of glimmer if you can take the opening kickoff and do something with it. But there's no evidence they're going to be able to do anything offensively with this group. And yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I at this stage, it's like, I said this is a Saquon game. Do you really want to give him 25 touches in this game? Maybe see how that first drive goes in the second half and say, all right, we'll see where we're at that point. But yeah, this is not their day, it seems.
No, awful. Any chance they turn it around? I'm going to take everybody's super chats in a second. I just want to let John get out of here.
No, they're not equipped to come from behind.
But John, don't they got to show us a little something? I'm not saying go and win the game because you don't have the players to go and win the game. That was pitiful, man. That was embarrassing approach to that.
No, they have to play better than that. They have 69 yards of total offense, an NFL team. These are NFL players. Dallas Goedert and Jahan Dotson and Grant Calcaterra and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and everybody else. These are NFL players. Yeah, they got to perform better. Their average 2.6 yards per carry. It's 108 out, and Tampa's run 44 offensive plays to 27. And believe me, it was worse than that. It would have been if they didn't have the one drive. I mean, they started 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's pitiful.
Brutal. We'll see what they do in here in the second half. Johnny Mac, thanks for joining on the halftime show, man. We'll talk to you on the post-game show. I'm sure Big Sills is going to have a lot to say about this game on the post-game show.
And it'll be coaches first. Start with the players.
Well, both deserve credit. Both deserve blame, I think, in this one. So, John, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you at the end of the game.
All right. See you, man.
All right, there's Johnny Mac joining. Thanks, everybody, by the way, in the chat for the super chat. It's going to run through them all now. Second half is coming back here. There's Brady and Burkhardt back on the screen, so they'll be in a second. Jason A-Team drops $20. Thank you, Jason. Big Z and J-Mac, Eagles are dysfunctional and not coached well at all. Almost looks as if people are playing on their own and not following the scheme. Sirianni is at fault for this. The incompetence is disgusting. Jason A-Team, I'm with you. You heard John. He's going to continue to say players. But when you have a chance to go 3-1 into the bye week, be at the front of the NFC and give yourself a chance to make a run late in the season, and you get off the bus and you play like that, you don't even deserve to be on the football field. That's just a complete joke. And by the way, it's an embarrassment, and it's an attack on us as fans who spend hard-earned money. There's Eagles fans who traveled through a hurricane to get down there. I mean, they barely even tried in that first half. That was embarrassing. Caleb says you're giving Nick a pass. I'm not giving Nick any sort of pass, Caleb. Saquon not getting the ball till the end of half is crazy. We got away from the run last 2 playoff games against Bucks. How does Nick not notice it? It's a good point. I mean, look, I'm coming in. They get no yards in their first 4 drives. I'm like, just run the fucking ball to Saquon. Give Saquon the ball 8 times straight if that's what you got to do to get a yard with no AJ or Devontae out there. Sometimes, the common sense. And there's the start of the second half. I see Saquon Barkley taking the top off the defense. He might get home. He might get there. All the way down to the 10-yard line, a massive run there for Saquon Barkley as we talk about why they're not running the football at all. James Carver checks in. Cam, Becton, Fred are blowing O-line assignments. No doubt about it. They look terrible out there. James Carver, best players on the field would have put Q at slot and Isaiah Rodgers outside, play BG more. James, bad coaching approach today, no doubt. And Brian Pumper checks in. Jalen Hurts being a liability. Sorry to say, I told you, spotlight is on this overpaid running back disguised as a quarterback. Lots of QBs in this draft. Pumper, we'll see what happens. Hurts has to be better, no doubt. But let's get into the second half here, everybody. Their Eagles are driving here quick. They're down to the 2-yard line with Dallas Goedert makes a catch there. Saquon Barkley exploded. So maybe he gets 100 yards and we can give away a jersey. That will be the silver lining of this ugly game. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on the JAKIB Halftime Show. Tune in on the postgame show. Big Sills is going to go crazy on this football team. If I have one more prediction left in me, that's going to be my prediction, that Sills goes nuts at the halftime. So Eagles are about to score a touchdown here. Hopefully they can get in here, maybe make it a game. Kenny Gainwell just got hit behind the line. So they have a 3rd and goal. Enjoy the second half, everybody. We will catch you on the postgame show coming up right after the game.